I love Tottenham Hotspur, do you know that? I genuinely do love Tottenham Hotspur. No matter how deflated or upset I'm feeling about my own team, you can always rely on Tottenham Hotspur to cheer you up. What have we just witnessed at White Hart Lane? What is going on with Tottenham Hotspur? What is Ange Postecoglou playing at? It is simply sensational. Ange Postecoglou is the worst manager that Tottenham have ever had in the Premier League era. He is so clearly out of his depth, and for some reason, he is the manager that they are backing. He is the manager that they seem to be persevering with. Surely what we have just witnessed, surely Ruud van Nistelrooy turning him over at home is the straw that will break the camel's back, and Ange Postecoglou will correctly lose his job. Think about what has happened. Think about what has happened over the past 7 days. Last week, relegation threatened Everton, who had scored 1 goal in 6 games, scored 3 in the first half at Goodison Park against Tottenham Hotspur. What have we just witnessed today, this week? Relegation threatened Leicester City, who have lost 7 on the bounce, ahead of playing Tottenham Hotspur at White Hart Lane, get a victory that drives them out of the relegation zone. What a win for Ruud van Nistelrooy. I bet he cannot believe his luck. The concept of Dr. Tottenham really is coming into fruition. And the fact that Tottenham have lost successive games to relegation battlers, relegation-threatened teams, winning week in, week out against Tottenham Hotspur is surely sackable. Surely what we are witnessing is the end of the Ange Postecoglou era because, let's face it, Ange Postecoglou is not a very good manager. Ange Postecoglou has this myth around him that he is an excellent manager. He has this myth around him that he is a really charming guy. He has this myth around him that he is a nice, genteel man. And none of the above is true. He is not a good manager. He is an inept manager. He is so reliant on one system. It's not being a good manager. Like the very definition of being a good manager is having an element of pragmatism, being able to roll with the punches, managing difficult situations. The clue is in the name. And Ange Postecoglou cannot do that. He is also, when I say not a nice guy, he is so conceited. He is so arrogant. The way that he talks to journalists, you wouldn't want to be the journalist interviewing him after the match at White Hart Lane against Leicester. He will be furious, staring at the floor and rude. And let's face it, this is all based upon something that isn't very good. The foundations of Ange Postecoglou's hostility to journalists is that things are not going his way. He is making mistakes. He is taking Tottenham into a relegation battle. That is what is happening because Ange Postecoglou isn't a particularly good manager. And I think that it's time for him to be held to account. We need to start acknowledging that he is making mistakes. The reason that Tottenham are where they are is that he is making mistakes. Look, I understand that Tottenham have their gripes with Daniel Levy and it is completely and utterly legitimate. I back them on their row with Enoch. I will always support true fans of a football club against the business venture capitalists of any team. And I extend that courtesy to Tottenham Hotspur. But let's not pretend that Ange Postecoglou hasn't been backed. Let's not pretend that Daniel Levy hasn't backed certain managers. When he didn't back Mauricio Pochettino off the back of taking that team to a Champions League final and they signed nobody the following summer. Ludicrous, appalling, embarrassing for Daniel Levy. Sackable, in fact, for that board. But this isn't that. Joe Lewis and Daniel Levy and Enoch have backed Ange Postecoglou. But he has built a team that is frail. He has built a team full of fairly average footballers. And he has built a team and set them up in a way that could quite easily take them down. I have no idea why nobody is talking about Tottenham in the potential for a relegation battle, but they are most certainly in one. Trust me, Tottenham are capable of being relegated. I concede that it's unlikely, but the form that they are in is abominable. The form that they are in is just atrocious. And these results are not an aberration. This isn't rare that Tottenham lose. They are getting beaten every week. They are losing games left, right and centre. They have lost as many Premier League games as Ipswich. And the 40-point barrier that used to be the hallmark for staying in the Premier League, they will not reach it. So the question then becomes, will you need 40 points this year? Probably not. Tottenham will probably survive because they sit 3 places above the relegation zone, 8 points. It will probably be enough. But if anyone below them, for example, if this result for Leicester somehow drives them up the table, if they use this result, a big win away from home at Tottenham, if they use it as a springboard, if Wolverhampton Wanderers can rediscover themselves, if Mateus Cunha can find a little bit of rhythm and form, there is a chance that Tottenham will be sucked into a relegation battle. And if they are, and they persevere with Ange Postecoglou, they will be relegated. All the teams that were down there, the vast majority of the teams that were down there, with the exception of Ipswich, have all looked at their perilous situation and decided to sack their manager. For some reason, Tottenham are persevering, and I do not understand why. Because Ange Postecoglou He is not a good manager. And I called this ages ago. Ages. And people love to have a pop at me for getting things wrong at football. But nobody makes the TikToks about things that you get right. Nobody makes the YouTube shorts about the things that you get right. And at the beginning of the season, September, I've put a video out calling Ange Postecoglou a fraud. And I stand by every word in that. And every word that I said then is even more true today than it was at the time of recording. Because he is just not good enough. He isn't as good as managers that they have previously sacked. He isn't as good as Juan Ramos. He isn't as good as Christian Gross, who is seen as the nadir of the worst Tottenham team of all time. Like Ozzy Ardiles, Tottenham hero, had that team in 15th and they got sacked. And for some reason, Postecoglou has not been. And let's face it, when the fans turn on Daniel Levy, which happened at full time, I put something on my Twitter. The fans really turned on Daniel Levy at full time and they were singing about Levy. We know that the chronology generally goes like this. The fans turn on Levy, Levy will turn on the manager. So I expect to see Ange Postecoglou sacked. But let's not act like he's been hard done by here. He talks about his record. I always win things in my second year, mate. Yeah, you might. At the Whittlesea Zebras. You might. At Celtic. When you are the most big and powerful team in the league and you go away from home and you slap up Kilmarnock. Yes, you can play gung-ho football when you are heading to St Mirren with the might of Celtic. And yes, you will win the league in your second year, mate, because that's what you can do at average teams in good teams in average leagues. You're not at a good team in an average league now. You're at a good team in a great league. And it is very unforgiving. And there are some very good managers in this league. And ultimately, Ange Postecoglou has been found out. And his personality has turned. And I don't think that he even has the luxury of blaming this on injuries. I know that's what he's trying to do. And I understand that his team have faced injuries. But Bournemouth have injuries. They have a lot less money than Tottenham. And Iraola is finding answers every single week. Iraola is a good manager who is managing a difficult situation. Postecoglou today, people are going, Postecoglou couldn't even name a full bench. That's true. And that's poor. And it's unlucky. But it's nothing to do with injuries that he subbed Richarlison. Did you hear the reaction of the fans when he subbed Richarlison? Everybody associated with Tottenham knew that was the wrong move. Richarlison had already put them 1-0 up today. And he subbed him. How can that possibly be right? And let's now talk about why they have so many injuries. People just go, they have injuries as if it's bad luck. Part of the reason that they have injuries is Ange Postecoglou's mismanagement. Do you remember when Chelsea went to White Hart Lane and they went 2-0 up? What happened in that first half? Yep, Cucurella slipped. Tottenham went 2-0 up. Jadon Sancho scored a brilliant goal and something happened in between that. Both Tottenham centre halves were taken off injured because Ange Postecoglou rushed Van der Ven back. They rushed Christian Romero back and both pulled up injured in the first half. Bad management. Neither have been back since, really. Therefore, the reason that they are injured is Ange Postecoglou getting it wrong, forcing them back for a Chelsea game. So, ultimately, Ange Postecoglou is responsible for this. And let's remember, they are a good team. They finished 5th in the league last year, and they started this season with designs on qualifying for the Champions League. However, that is so over. They aren't worrying about what Chelsea and Villa and Newcastle United and Manchester City are getting up to. They have to be worried about what Everton, Wolves and Ipswich are getting up to. Do you know how demoralising and actually embarrassing that is for Tottenham? Tottenham are a big club. There's no doubt about it. Tottenham are a big club. Maybe not as big as they think they are, but they're a big club. And they should be competing at the top of the league. They should not be worried about what Ipswich are getting up to in the league. They should not be worried about the potential of genuinely going down. And I honestly think that they could. I think this season it will be their lowest points tally since 3 points for a win was introduced. That was introduced in 1981. And Tottenham are going to finish with their lowest points tally since 3 points for a win became a thing. And I honestly think that relegation could befall them. If you replicate their form over the last 10 games for the rest of the season, they'll finish on 32 points. Yes, I did the maths. Yes, I did work it out. They will finish this season on 32. Now, nobody has ever survived with 32 points in the past. I appreciate that this season is a different one. But this whole belief that Tottenham are too good to go down. I remember when we used to say that about the West Ham team that Joe Cole was the captain of that went down. I mean, you could even say it about the Leicester team that went down in, 2021? I mean, there have been some really good teams that have ultimately gone down. Leeds United, when they first went. So I think that they could. And let's remember that Tottenham have been in a similar situation like this before. I think 2009, Juan Ramos. But they sacked Juan Ramos in time to bring Harry Redknapp in and he had time to change it. Who are you going to bring in now? Like, time is running out. The transfer window is nearly closed. And I don't think Tottenham have finished in the bottom half of the table since 2008. Like, they will finish in the bottom half this year. And the reason they will is because Postecoglou is an average manager. And I don't understand how they are persevering with him. He's tactically naive. He's getting it wrong. And if they don't act fast, it could be too late. It could be catastrophic. Imagine that. Beautiful football stadium, Beyonce, the NFL, and QPR. Fingers crossed, eh? Thank you so much for watching this video. What a day of football this is. I'm over the moon with that. Going to watch some more, and I will speak to you all in a little while. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Glory, glory, Tottenham Hotspur.